How you doing? How are you holding up?
Good, man. You know, turning into like Groundhog's Day here every day. Like,
Yeah,
remember that film? It's like,
of
wake up
course.
doing the same thing, and it's hard to determine what day it is and what
Yeah,
time times. But the days do fly by pretty quick. I must.
I know. Are you doing anything like what does your day to day look like? Are you trying to keep like routines to keep things feeling like a normal week, or how are you handling it?
Yeah, I'm working out actually, which is something that me and my fiance really decided that we needed to do. Um,
Yeah,
we're doing like online workouts and calisthenics and
yeah,
aerobics, some weights, and I wake up in the morning about 8 7 8 o'clock. I just go in the studio and I'll have like 2 or 3 cups of coffee in like 4 hours, and
yeah.
I'm working on music and trying to stay creative and utilize this time to really, you know, dive into a lot of stuff that I'm doing.
Sure, sure. How are you finding that the quarantine is affecting your creative process?
Um, it's no different. The difference is that we have a lot more time to ourselves, so I'm working a lot more. But you know, outside of quarantine, I would travel. So you get on a plane, you DJ, you have some sort of different sort of inspiration. Here, you're constantly, even though you have to work and be creative, you also start, hitting the wall, and you want to do
Yeah,
something. I'll get up and start walking around or turn on TV, but the TV is not about Corona, so there's no inspiration there. It's just
yeah. Just
what's
stress, right?
just stress. So I try to keep that distant, and so I'll just listen to music, and
Yeah,
or I'll try to watch a film or read a book. So that's what I kind
yeah,
of like, this whole time to look, find other art to inspire me. I'm like, I'll find
sure.
myself waking up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, and then can't go back to sleep because my brain won't shut off. So
Yeah,
next, like Harry Romero or will video me, and he's in the studio and hanging out with him just like this for 2 hours, just basically just while he's working, it's just on. We're just
yeah,
talking. We have some sort of like rapport of like I'm in the room with him or something, or vice versa. Um,
yeah.
so meditation, even though it sounds great, I just I try to do it, but I just can't. My brain won't shut off. It's just thinking,
I know the
you know.
feeling.
Yeah.
I'm connecting with a lot of people that I have been meaning to catch up with for a long time. And in our normal day to day, it's too crazy. But now that everyone's sort of a button press away and everyone's in the same situation, I feel like I've been catching up with a lot of people and, like FaceTiming, video chatting with people that I might not have, necessarily felt the impetus to schedule it with otherwise. Have you been finding the same or?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I
Yeah.
think this is amazing. Which is weird because FaceTiming for me, it was not something I normally did.
Yeah.
Uh, Kind of very personal. If you FaceTime someone you really wanted
Yeah.
to, I want to see you, and that's not everybody. But now this is our kind of only real form of communication as visually, and we get a
Yeah.
sense of real connection. So it's becoming the new. It's a norm for everyone. Even people that were uncomfortable FaceTiming are now finding a solace or a comfort in it. And so yeah, it's totally different, And
Yeah.
I think this is a great way to stay connected, great way to
Yeah.
talk to friends and speak to them, and and at least have some sort of kind of interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay connected, which is,
Yeah,
I think we have to take extra actions to do that these days. So let's talk
yeah.
about culture. It's the new record label, event, lifestyle brand you launched with Jumeirah. You have the Culture EP is came out at the beginning of the month. Tell us a little bit about the project and what motivated it.
Um, I was sitting with Demure for him and I were going back and forth for months talking about something we could do together outside of just collabing on music on tracks.
Yeah,
And we wanted to create a brand, a label that not just releases music, but kind of gives back to the culture itself and helps sustain the narrative and not erase it, or because sometimes as time goes by, things kind of like get lost. Things get history gets lost. You know, if
Yeah.
you're not talking about it or constantly reminding people of what was, what was and what is, or what comes from what, people kind of like, you know, wind up rewriting it and making it their own narrative. So we wanted to, you know, create a label that we can release great house techno music, because we felt that diversity is lost too, because music is so clicky.
Yeah.
And when we grew up, had like people like Armand Van Helden would do Flowers and do Witch Doctor, two different styles of records, but from one individual. So we wanted to show artists can make techno, and they can make deep house, and they can make tech house, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be, you know, one dimensional. And that's what music, you know, that's what our music. Listening to Kashmir, he did Brighter Days and he was Green Velvet. He did, you know,
Yeah.
totally different styles of music, and that was acceptable back then. You know, now I think there is more diversity, but you know, the whole clickiness where music goes in and out of fashion so quickly. People like tech house, they like minimal, this and that. We wanted to showcase a label where artists can just be free to create what they create, and if it's good, we really want to accept it. And also, we wanted to do a label where we can, you know, every event that we do, we can do panels, or we can curate or do Q&As at local record stores, or and talk about the culture, because we think that's important as well. So we decided to just combine our both our knowledge of the scene and give back in this way, and do events, and every artist that releases with us will play at our events and will participate in what we're doing, you know, so, which is great. And we have, so far, we got everyone from Kerry Chandler lined up, Sneak, people are, you know, we got a lot of, obviously are still planning on, you know, doing the events that we had lined up prior to COVID. We are doing some partnerships and collaborations with Rhonda in LA, because we feel that party really depicts what we're about as well. It's diversity, acceptance of all, you know, when you go to a Rhonda party, there's black, white, straight, Latino, gay, you know, hip hop heads. I mean, it's like a amalgamation of what the scene should be, is not just one dimension. So we're still going to do that. We're still going to do our launches as soon as this is, you know, done, or, you know, at least gets a little back to normality. We plan on doing our annual ADE, maybe not this year. ADE doesn't come to fruition next year. So what's great is that we have enough time now to plan, maybe even 2020, you know, meaning which is great. I mean, it's crazy that we can think that this year might be a dud, like it's over.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing to even imagine that, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, it's something that we've talked about before, but, you know, especially in dance and electronic music, it's a constant climate of touring. You know, DJs and producers are constantly playing out. What are you hearing from, you know, your friends in the industry about, you know, just like this sort of scenario? What if there is no live revenue this year? How will DJs and producers be able to adapt and stay afloat?
I mean, hopefully, I mean, there's no way to, you know, I think people are figuring it out more and more how to monetize from streaming. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet. I think even after this whole streaming phenomenon that we're in is going to be something that's way, because people are really adapting to it. I mean, 2 months ago, nobody knew how to live stream from their home. Now everybody's doing it, you know?
Right.
Now it's only a matter of time before there's some, you know, monetization on that and people are making revenue. But I think, you know, for people that are touring, was their number one source of revenue. If you're not, you know, if you haven't stacked up your chips, this is a really tough time. And not everyone lives, you know, in within their means, you know, because a lot of people, you know, just, you know, splurge on a lot of things, and hopefully, you know, people have a cushion, you know. Luckily enough, between creating and production and stuff that I do outside of just the road, you know, I can actually, you know, have a little cushion for a few months, but you know, I can't
Sure.
stay entire for 2 years
Yeah.
with these sort of revenue coming in. So
Right.
it's uh, you know, the uncertainty of what's next is, I think, what's everyone's fear. And I
Yeah.
see a lot of fears, some happy that they're home, some scared that they're home,
Yeah.
some people are getting antsy and going, I want to hit the road, I want to be on the road, I want to be on the road. Um, I'm looking at, like, you know, there's a silver lining to this, and uh, I'm taking full advantage of the fact that I'm sitting in a room and I have enough time to be creative and make music. The playing field is leveled out. Everyone's home, right?
Mm.
So now
Mm.
it's all up to you what you do with your time. Now,
Mm.
you can spend your time watching Netflix all day, or you can spend your time live streaming all day, or you can spend your time being productive and creating content for your future. You know, because
Mm.
even streaming is great, but content that is short lived, it comes and goes. I
Sure.
prefer to take the time to create content that's maybe will last for a long time, which is making music and writing songs and creating publishing and creating future revenue for myself for years to come.
Yeah.
So,
No, that
you know,
makes sense.
that's where my head is at. And um, I'm really just diving into music as much as I can right now.
Yeah. What's been inspiring you in the studio recently? What kind of stuff are you making? What's working?
Across the board, I'm taking a lot of time to create a lot of singles and tracks for labels. Uh, what I did, it's funny, right, COVID, around after ADE, so I spent November, December into January really just making music and getting tracks signed to, you know, I got stuff coming out on Chus and Chabalo's label,
Mm.
Stereo, out on Save, Nick Vanchuli's label. So just tons of music. So I concentrate on my album, and I'm doing uh, my second album, my sophomore album, which is uh, going to be, right now it's tentatively titled Soundprint Embryo. And I went to Atlanta, I met up with Dallas Austin,
Mm.
wanted to create an album that is purely dance and house music, but coming from the US, out of Atlanta, with new artists and artists that are, you know, necessarily that don't come from house music, but
Right.
are kind of like, I want them to emerge in it, that R&B and hip hop backgrounds, because
Mm.
there's been a connection, and I want to show that connection. So that's, you know, something that I am doing. You know, so I've been
How,
and now that I have this time, you know, all I've been doing is actually concentrating on that record.
how did you and Dallas Austin link up originally?
We've been friends for years, and
Mm.
he, a few months ago, when he got inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, he hit me up and said, "Hey, do you want to DJ at my party?" Um, it was him and Jermaine Dupri, a couple other people that were in New York, and I DJ'd for him, and I turned to him, I was like, "We should do something together." Fine. But yeah, but it didn't hit me that it was this album that I wanted him to be a part of, executive
Mm.
produce. And right before the Grammys, I hit him up. I was like, "Hey, I have this idea," and I ran it by him. He was like, "Listen, as soon as the Grammys are done, I'm going to go to Miami, just fly, and let's dive in for like 2 weeks." So that's what I did down there, and kind of just create. You know, the first night I was there, I just kind of broke down the whole narrative,
Yeah.
and I spoke for like 2 or 3 hours, and the next morning he didn't say anything. So the next morning he was just like, you know, I thought I spoke too much, and he quiet. And he told me the next morning, he's like, "Man, everything you said, we need to record." It was
Mm.
phenomenal, because we were talking about house music. I was talking about house remixes that he did for like another back creation that he hasn't heard or remembered that he heard. And we're talking about the connection between house and hip hop and urban music. And he was just like, "Dude, we need to document it." We started doing it. He called his video team in, and every day we were just recording everything. You know, Todd Terry lives in Atlanta, so I invited Todd to come over and
Yeah.
talk about the connection of hip hop and house, because, you know, he did, you know, Jungle Brothers, a house hue, but
Yeah.
he also don't know that, you know, Todd, you know, released Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z's first album, on Freeze, on his label.
Mm-hmm.
People
Mm-hmm.
don't make that connection, so we spoke about
Right.
that. You know, DJ Pierre lives in Atlanta. We got him to come, so we just started connecting the dots, you know, and so we wanted that. We're going to release that in conjunction with the album, but it's also going to
Mm-hmm.
live on its own, and it's going to be kind of like a hip hop evolution. But
what more can you tell us about the project? Some of the artists that you're working with on it.
A lot of it is new artists that are coming out on Rowdy. Dallas relaunched Imprint Rowdy, which, you know, a lot of people don't know that a diverse label that too. Not only did he have like artists like Monica and different people, but he had like Fishbone, he had Tool. Like, it was a very diverse label. So me coming in and doing a dance album on Rowdy kind of made sense to him now, even more than ever, because it does make sense. So he's doing his project as well, his artist album, and I just co-produced a song with him featuring this amazing artist called Nas Tokyo, and the single's Money Yango, and it's coming out at the end of this month. And we just did a video in Atlanta. It's really dope, super fun. It's kind of like our own, it's hard, you know, I don't like to compare, but you somewhat got to compare some people, but it's kind of like our own Soul to Soul meets, you know, Paper Plane, Bugged Out. It's fun, and it's good for right now, you know.
You've been spending a lot of time down in Atlanta for the project, and it's such a creative hotbed right now. What has it been like, you know, working down there, being in Dallas's studio?
Oh wow, dude, it was so inspirational. Not only is Atlanta such an amazing place, but getting to spend time with Dallas and to witness the caliber of songwriting of a songwriter he is, and a producer.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've been in a lot of rooms with a lot of people, but the way he creates and the way he does work is pretty phenomenal. And I was just like in awe most of the time. And then his story sits down and tells me stories of, you know, when he started and when he first did another Black Creation album and all this stuff. And it's mind blowing to hear his, I don't know if you saw Hip Hop Evolution and his segment from Atlanta, from he did TLC and all this stuff. It was pretty amazing, but to get it from the horse's mouth and hear his trials and tribulations of his life, and it's almost mirrors mine in a way, because he started really, he did he did Motown Philly Boys to Men album when he was still a teenager.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, you got started young too, though, right? Like you were DJing clubs age 15, right? Tell us, for those who are tuning in and maybe don't know as much about your origin story, just give us a little background on how you got started in dance music.
So I started DJing in my bedroom at 11 years old.
Wow, 11.
Yeah, 11 years old. And my first crate of records. So my brother comes home with his now wife. They've been married forever, but with his girlfriend at the time, and her brother-in-law's brother was a producer as well, and he, by the name of this, he made freestyle records, like the genre freestyle, like Cover Girls and Coro, same as Todd produced Coro and all that stuff. And this is going to be funny, but he used to go by the name Chinga, which is a weird Latin people, but it was a huge underground, and he made this record called Fly Tetas. It was talking about women's breasts, but it was just like a pure, like Latin hip hop underground smash. And I knew the record. Oh my God, that's him. So I asked my mom if I can go spend some time with my brother, because he lived with them at the time. And that's when I saw my first studio. I was 10, 11 years old. And he treated me not like a kid. He kind of treated me like a peer or something. You know, he did it. And he gave me my first crate of records. He explained to me what the studio was. I started to understand the mixing board, and I saw my first sampler. And that's when I got the bug. the real producer bug. And then I
Yeah.
started DJing. I would like mimic him, buy the same cologne he was wearing, like, you know, just being this kid that was in awe of this guy, you know.
Yeah.
And that's when it started. I started DJing out at like clubs like Limelight, all the Peter Gation clubs. I was like 14 years old.
Yeah.
And then I
Wow.
had my residency at Club USA in the Terry Mogliere room. I was 15,
Yeah.
15, 16, yeah. And then,
What did your parents think of it at the time?
oh, my mother thought I was in a cult because like I was going to a church, you know, like Limelight
Yeah.
Church, like that. Yeah, she wasn't supportive because she didn't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was going out to Factory Bar on a Wednesday night to hear Louis Vega play, and then on Thursdays or Tuesdays I would be at Community at Limelight to Neville Wells party.
Yeah.
Watch the industrial bands like Front 242 and Ministry and all these other bands, and then I would go. You know, Fridays would be NASA, and go hear Odie, Soul Slinger, and Joski, and Frank Rock, Chocolate Factory, all these raves.
Wow.
The Wednesday night, I'll go to Sound Factory Bar to hear Louis and hear Prop. So,
yeah,
being this kid that was out all the time, my mother was like, "What are you doing?"
and what a time for the New York City dance music scene too.
Oh yeah,
kind of immersed in that.
Well, I correlate it to, I never experienced like the whole Steve Rubell type of Studio 54 time.
Sure.
Or even the Paradise Garage time. That was a little bit. So the club kid, New York City segregation era of that, of the 90s, of the kids, like the kid time, that's my. So,
sure.
You know, I was around when Chloe Svengi and everyone, when they filmed kids at NASA, and, you know, I couldn't be in the film because my mother wouldn't let me, but they asked me to be on it, and I asked her, I do it, and she had to sign off, and she was like, no, you know?
Yeah.
Which is just funny. But that was my time, you know, when I think about, you know, so I experienced an amazing time in New York. And then by the time I was graduating high school, I had my first single out on Strictly Rhythm. And then I started touring. As soon as I graduated, I hit a plane, and it hasn't stopped since. That's been my trajectory.
Sure. Are there any, you know, I mean, you're talking about playing some of these like legendary New York spots, even at like age 15. Are there any specific shows that stick out in your mind that you played and also that you attended during, it doesn't have to be that period, but just like really like New York City dance music scene highlights, like your all-time list? Just curious to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I would go to club nights called like Sheets and Pillows to listen to like Stretch Armstrong. Sticky Mike's was like reggae. You know what's funny about clubs back then? You would go to like a Limelight, and the main room where you hear like DJs like Charlie Casanova or Corbett, and they were like playing house music on the main floor. But you go to another room and it'd be hip hop. You go to another room and be like Latin music. You got to experience all these styles in different rooms, right? When I played Club USA, which was in Times Square, which if you watch Salt and Pepper's video, that's actually Club USA.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
didn't realize that.
It's Japan. It was like, when you look at that video, that stage, that is Club. There used to be a slide from the floor into the main dance floor, like a tube slide. You would be able to slide from upstairs into the dance floor. That whole play, it's giving me chills just thinking about it.
Yeah.
That whole scene was insane. I played Terry Mogliere room, which was, you had these ambidextrous stairway that had no ledge. If you could literally kill yourself. But I would take crates of records up to the DJ booth and play an eclectic like house music / 80s set, and just I was being super experimental, and people like Madonna would be in there dancing, and a lot of the designers at the time were there, and like Alexander McQueen, and all these people were just there vibing, and I've witnessed firsthand, and I remember that energy being unreal too, because not only playing to drag queens and kids and dancers and break dancers and house dancers, you were also playing, you know, artists, you know, painters and fashion designers and amazing, you know, just amazing caliber of people in one room, a lot of creativity. which when I fast forward another time in New York that was amazing for me was the time with the Misshapes. That's also equivalent creative wise of New York in the 90s, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a book that just came out, that Wallpaper, one of the club kids released, and it just literally came out a few months ago, and it's a really good depiction of that time in New York. I would suggest picking that up.
Yeah. What was the name of the book again?
Club Kids by people.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's really.
You know, and it's interesting. You know, you mentioned Madonna being present at one of these clubs. I know you also did like official remixes for her. You know, later on down the road. And I know you've done remixes for a lot of big names in pop: Shakira, Ariana Grande, Katy Perry. Tell us a little bit about how you got started as like remixing and becoming a go-to remixer, and also what your approach is generally when you're remixing artists like that.
You know, I'm pretty blessed that I've never remixed anything I didn't like, or a song. I remember early on, I would turn on remixes. When I did "Be With You," which was a pretty successful record in the UK, like it charted. That's when I started getting flooded with remixes requests. Now I remember one of them, an artist from the UK came and they wanted it was a big budget remix, and I listened to it and I told my manager at the time, I said, I can't remix this, even no matter. It was just too good. I thought there's nothing I can contribute
Nothing
to.
you can add.
Yeah, but that was my mentality. I stayed in that way for a long time. And then I started to really understand that I should listen to these artists, because that's how I discovered certain bands I wasn't into or I didn't know. So, for example, I had no idea who Saint Etienne was until Masters at Work remixed them. That's when I realized that's a lot. That's what the art of remixing is so you can introduce kids to artists that never have listened to, but why they listen to is because they like you. So now you're exposing them to a whole new world. So that's how, when I started remixing when I started to have that mentality, that's when remixes really connected. I was like, all right, I'll do them. And since then, I was blessed to work out of amazing remixes. And recently, just not long ago, one of our beloved, colleagues in this industry, Arta passed. And he was a big advocate and a champion for me for remixing Donna. That's how I got to remix her. And he worked with Warner Brothers, and he also, he was the person that curated all her remixes. Everything that we know Madonna was because of him. So rest in peace, Orlando.
Yeah, a loss. A really tragic loss. Yeah. Speaking of, noteworthy remixes, you have a bit of a history with Daft Punk. I know you're a part of the collective The Mongoloids, and you remixed with them, and you remixed Revolution 909. How did you first connect with them?
With the robots?
With the robots, with the French robots.
Well, when I knew them, they weren't robots yet. They were still human. What's funny is I met them in like late 96, 97. So pre-Homework.
Yeah.
And they were fans of obviously Armand and myself. And, what's funny is like we all fans of each other. We work like when they released on Soma, that's when I really got to know who they were. And I met them in Miami, 1997, 98, I believe. Well, physically met them. I knew them prior, other ways. But Armand and I wanted to start a collection of the Mongoloids. We wanted to do like the Wu-Tang of house.
Yeah.
So we had this idea in the morning. We woke up. I was staying at his house, and we're like, "Yo, man, we should just collect friends and do music together and collab and remix each other or collab on music and create that same unity that Wu-Tang was doing." But we wanted it internationally. So that was our concept. And we got Sneak was involved, come from Chicago and hang out with us, and Roger. And then I got Basement Jacks in. Price was a part of our whole collective, and Ian Pooley. And then when we met Tomas and Guy, Miami, I automatically went up to them. And at the time, Pedro Winter was managing them.
Mm.
It was at the National Hotel or something. It was raining, I remember. They were excited to meet us. We were excited to meet them. And we were like, yo, we got this collective. It's called the Mongoloids. We're like the Wu-Tang House, and we want you guys. They were like, in French, we're like, yes, we do it. Okay. And then we had a secret handshake. And from then on, we just became a team.
Yeah.
We just, you know, when I would go to Paris, you know, with Armand or whoever I was touring with, we'd go to Tomas's house, and, you know, I got to experience their studio, and Tomas had it literally on the floor, and they were, you know, creating this art, and basically compressors were on the floors, keyboards were on the floors.
Wow.
It was no, when I think about it now, it was amazing, but back then, like, why is your studio just on the floor? Like, you know, studio, but they, you know, they always had a vision of what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. They had no idea what they were doing when they wanted to wear masks. It wasn't strategic. It wasn't like, oh, we want to do this because we know we're going to blow up. It wasn't
like a calculated marketing thing.
No, they just wanted to they known. They wanted the music to speak for itself. Mm-hmm. They wanted to, you know, really, you know, not be these famous people. They wanted just the music to stand on its own. So they came up with this concept that they had no idea that people would now be wearing, you know, mouse masks and this and that, right. You know, purpose, but still take it off and be famous. They just know. There's, you know, 90% of the world doesn't know what Tomas and Kimon looks like.
Right.
And that's
right.
how they wanted it to be. That's amazing, you know?
What was it like when, you know, Homework came out and they experienced that rise?
Oh man, Homework, that came out in 1997. I remember listening to that album and literally going, whoa. Me and our mom would listen to it, and we were in awe of the dynamics at the time. It was super compressed, and we listened to every nuance of that. And we knew it was special. Like,
yeah,
knew there was something about this record from the funk. The first time we heard the funk was like mind blowing.
Oh yeah.
We were like,
stands out.
There was a time when the music and the art, the visual went hand in hand. Like, you had Michel Gondry did Around the World. Mm-hmm. You know, Mike Jones did the video for the funk. You needed these visuals to connect with the song even more. Something that we don't have today. You know, look at the Depeche. They had Corbin do all their videos.
Yeah.
Such, you know, it goes hand in hand on the music. You know, people don't do that today. You know, last time hip hop had Hype Williams, and, you know, Michel Gondry went on to become, you know, an amazing film director, and so is Spike Jonze. But because of these artists that we have, look at Chris Cunningham, you know, Aphex Twin and Squarefish. Like, we have amazing directors because of our culture and our music. You know, which is great.
Mm. Are there any artists that you think are really doing a good job currently of marrying great electronic music with compelling visuals and moving images?
Yeah, I think I love Tame Impala. I love when he does his live show. On a DJ front, I think Eric Prydz visuals.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, not level, like, look at Bjork, right? When you look at all her videos, like her body of work and everyone she's worked, from Michel Gondry to, you know, so on and so forth. You know, she was doing things that today are normal. Like, we're changing our face on FaceTime. She was doing it on videos 20 years ago, you know? So, I mean, we haven't had that type of artistry in a long time, if you really think about it. I mean, that she was next level.
Are there any, you know, in the house music world currently, are there any artists that are standing out to you?
Yeah, I think Kink is amazing. I love what he does creatively, and I love what he does. because he really touches on hardware to create his art, and it's really cool for the kids to see today.
Yes.
It's hardware, analog. A lot of it's still digital, but it's
Yeah.
great to touch and like, and it's great to like be hands on, twiddle a knob. Artists like Jumeirah, I'm a fan of Jumeirah. I'm blessed
Yeah.
that I love what he does musically. There's a lot of young artists that are out there right now killing it. Like this kid named Antler Rock is dope. Blackwell, which is signed at Robot, but he also helps me run the label. Man, there's so many great artists. Matthias Kaiden. I mean, new and old. There's so many amazing artists right now that is just killing it.
How do you personally sort through it all? Because this is something I struggle with sometimes. Is there are so many different inputs and so many different platforms that sometimes it's hard to just be as intentional about my listening habits and like my digital crate digging as I would like to be. What's your approach? What are some of the platforms that you use?
I get a lot of promos personally to my inbox from guys. I also use InFlight, which pretty much collect all different promos and send them to you, or aggregate them basically. And I sit down at least once a week and I go through my promos, and I download what I like, I comment what I like, and I don't download and I don't comment on things I don't like, because I don't feel like I comment negativity. I'd rather not say than be like, oh, I don't like this, so I'm not going to play it. This sucks. I'm not going to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'll download what I really dig and I'll comment on it, and I'll support it. I support everything that I like. I always support it in some capacity.
Sure. I think we've got a few submitted questions too. We can open it up to, and also whoever's in the chat, feel free to ask them as well. Let's see.
Do I think Carol Baskin killed her husband? Yes.
The most pressing question of the current climate. From Justin Kleinfeld, tell us the story behind working with Felix de Housecat on Kittens and the Glitter.
Justin, I love Justin. Wow, that's a good one. So in a nutshell, I won't go deep dive into that story too much, but I produced I produced on the record Felix. The majority of it was done in my house in New Jersey when he left FFR. Second album called, I can't remember his name of the second album, but he parted with FFR and he came to New Jersey, and I just launched Cube, and I told him, I said, man, let's just work on an album. And he came over, we did Kittens hits, and I released it on Cube. A lot of people don't know, and I licensed it to Emperor Norton in the US, and then I licensed it to City Rockers, which was the time Damian Lazarus was there. Licensed them, and that's how the record really became what it was. And there was a lot of great artists that contributed to that record, like Miss Kitten and Tommy Sunshine wrote the screen, and it was a phenomenal thing. I believed in it a lot. And I remember telling the manager at the time, Neil Petricone at X-Mix, this record is either going to blow up or it's not going to blow up at all, but it's going to be critically accepted. And it was. That year was one of the albums of the year, I think in Rolling Stone. And it went on to, help cement even more of his legacy. So I'm glad I was a part of it.
Do you have a sample pack of drums or loops out anywhere?
No, but everyone tells me I should do one, and I'm going to do one. It's about who I do it with and when I do it. But I do it because I want to contribute drums and stuff like that to the culture. Funny, as a DJ or as a producer, that we protect our drums, like people like myself and Kenny. We always would not leave drums open on purpose because we owned them. But now, whenever, I just contribute and pass the knowledge on and the sounds on to people. But I'll do it. Yeah.
Sure. We've got one in the chat. Around the early 2000s, you produced a lot of rock and different styles of music. At this time, were you tired of house and dance, or did you feel like you needed a change of scene?
That's a good question, man. Listen, house music and dance music to me is my core. It's my passion. It's who I am. But I also wanted to challenge myself as a producer and a songwriter. I wanted to grow, and one of the ways, because I love to write songs. I love to produce. I'm just in all genres. And one of the things I decided to do early on is I struck a good relationship with the people at Virgin at the time, Jason Flom and David Walter.
Mm.
For a long time, I was like their plumber. You know, I would just fix some shit that they just needed fixing.
Your go-to guy.
Yeah, they're like, hey, man, we need another version of Gorillaz there. And because alternative radio isn't playing it, would you take a stab at it? I'm like, yeah.
Sure.
I would do it, and my version became the version played on alternative rock radio in the U.S. And when they first signed Katy Perry, they were like, would you work with this new artist? And I said, yeah. They go, we want to do a cover. I said, let's do a cover of The Outfield, Use Your Love. And I produced that record for her on the So Gay EP. And I just wanted to hone my craft and become a better version of myself as a producer so that I can make even better dance music, you know?
Sure.
One of the things I wanted to do. And I went as far as, you know, when I first produced my first band, they were called Action Reaction. They were signed to Coheb and Cambria's label. Mm-hmm. And I bought a 2-inch, 24-track tape machine. I put it in my basement and I recorded that all the drums and everything to tape. I didn't have to do that. I wanted to do that because if I was sitting down with peers like Arthur Baker or different, at least I can really understand the process they went through in recording as well.
Sure.
You know? And that's just the personality I have, that when I dive into something, I go full on. And it's because I really not only can do it, and I knew I could do it, also wanted to have the chops, you know? I believe I never stopped learning. I just wanted to develop and hone my craft even more. One of my heroes, Trevor Horn. Mm-hmm. And Trevor Horn is a person that produced, you know, the Guess Who and Grace Jones and ABC, Tattoo, Seal. And, you know, he was in Art of Noise, you know. So when you think of that man and think all the music he's done, it's so diverse and so eclectic, but he had his sound print. I believe we all have a sound print. And that's the type of person I emulate as far as my passion and my heart goes when it comes to music.
Sure. And by the way, I played your Gorillaz Dare remix out. It still goes off.
Oh, thank you.
We've got another from the Studio Break handle. Todd Terry is a legend. What's working with him like?
Oh, wow. Todd. Oof. So Todd is a great example of diversity. I mean, he and Louis and Kenny, well, I can speak on Todd, is he comes from making freestyle music. Like a lot of people don't know Coro, Where Are You Tonight, and Giggles, Love Letter, and all this stuff. And he tells me stories that was like the funnest times of his life. And then when house music started, he went that direction. But here on this freestyle, his drums, you can tell he was making it rough, rugged. Working with him every day, like just, he is one of my closest friends, but I'm inspired in awe of him every day. And the same with Kenny and all my peers. Like I admire them no matter what, even though no matter how close we are, I'm still a fan first, friend second. Yeah. You know?
About the Beatport Reconnect stream. I know you DJ'd that. Yeah. And the question regards you made a post about some of the sort of negative comments that you were seeing in the Twitch chat. They just wanted to know what did you witness and where do you think that sentiment comes from?
Well, it was before my stream. I was tuning in to watch other people's stream because I wanted to support people and really understand what Twitch was. I know my son uses Twitch. Obviously, it's for gamers and all whatever. So it wasn't something I was really familiar with. So I went on and saw a lot of people commenting that weren't necessarily into the music culture, meaning they were like, house music sucks. Then why are you watching it? or why are you on there? Or
Mhm.
when Eats Everything was playing, they were like commenting on his physique or his neck, like, you know, just stupid shit. And I was like, I just didn't understand or resonate with them. I'm like, what? Why are we doing this right now? Like, you know, people are giving art to people to for entertainment, and you're sitting just spewing out negativity
Mm.
behind a computer or behind your mobile device. And I'm just like, we don't need to do that. So I found that a little disheartening, but then I got
Yeah.
over whatever these you know, whoever's trolling doesn't really matter.
Right. Right. Yeah. It seems like those comments miss the point of the entire thing.
Totally.
Yeah. But it is something that I know artists deal with kind of on the regular. Maybe it's a little bit amplified because everyone's online right now, perhaps more than usual given the circumstances. But I do know like a lot of like young artists that I've known have had to deal with that almost as a rite of passage, just getting used to some of the hateful comments that get posted for really no reason, just trolling. Have you had to deal with that at all as well? Or
Yeah, I mean, I dealt with it. I don't pay attention to it. I personally don't deal. You know what's funny? I'm like, I hate bullies. I've always
mm-hmm.
been at school, so you can attack me, and I'm fine. When you attack friends or peers, I get angry. I'm like, oh, you know. Heroku just mentioned, she goes, Twitch and gaming is a different culture where people antagonize each other.
Antagonize each other.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, Heroku. She knows what's up. She's dope, by the way. She's there. She's an amazing DJ.
Mm. Can you explain the process, how you produced records back in the day? For example, the Bionic track, Secret Life. How long did it take? What did you use? What was your process?
Wow. Oh, that's one of my first Strictly Rhythm. So that record, it's funny because I did that on a Roland W30, eight input. It had eight input, but it only had two banks of 7.2 seconds of sample time. So it's like a little bit more, almost 16 seconds total. That's it. So I have to make a record with 16 seconds of sample. So if you can process that in your head, guys or girls, it's crazy when I think about it right now. So everything was truncating. You know, sample something, you truncate every million counts because you got to use it. So that's how I did that record, and I did it with relief in mind, actually.
Mm.
And then I was at a party at Armand's house, and Gladys Pizarro was there, and Armand was just telling her, "Hey, this kid is the next kid. He's the next generation." Blah blah blah. And she was like, "Come to my office on Monday." It was like obviously the weekend. She's like, "And bring me your music, but bring it on a DAT, which is a digital audio tape." And at that time, I didn't know what a DAT was. I'm in my early teens, and I looked at Armand. I was like, "A DAT? I didn't have a DAT machine." So I went to one of my friends who was the college will be nameless, but he was the musical director at a college, and he's like, "Dude, we got tons of those just that machine sitting there. Nobody uses them, so they're all Panasonic 3700s." So I brought a screwdriver and went to the college and just like, you know, borrowed one basically,
Yep.
and I recorded my first that EP, brought it to Strictly Rhythm. The Gladys signed it, and the funny thing about that record, it's probably the most craziest Strictly Rhythm release because that record that he mentioned, the Bionic track "Secret Life," it was super fast. It was like
Yeah.
130 something or 38 BPM. It was a David Bowie sample, and like it literally meant for a techno label. And Gladys, I got it. We'll release it. Nobody got it. Nobody really caught on to the record except for people like Dave Clark. It was fun. Like it was a techno record on Strictly Rhythm, which at the time kind of like, you know.
We got a couple more in the chat here. Do you still have your white contact lenses from the Mongoloid days?
No, because they probably have bacteria on them right now. But yeah, I used to wear a lot of contacts.
What are your thoughts on Kuvo Pioneer?
Oh, Kuvo, which is that? Yeah, I think it's great. I think Pioneer groundbreaking is, and they are our industry standard when it comes to our culture and DJing. And I think Kuvo is a great technology. I think they should enhance it and make it cloud based. I think I said this a long time ago. All the music that we have that's in our Pioneer box should be on a cloud.
Mm.
We should just be DJing off a cloud. Why are we not doing it?
Mm. Do you think things will eventually get there?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some other technological advancements you'd like to see in the space?
I mean, it's speed, power. I think as as these plugins get better and better, we need more CPU. The problem is like we're only as good as our computers, so it's like
Hmm.
I wish we didn't have to constantly upgrade our computer every 2 to 3 years or 4 years. So um, I, I think the next evolution is cloud based. We're going to be doing
Hmm.
everything from and the way we're even plugins like no installing anything. We got to streamline everything easier. Forget iLocks and forget this and just make it that we open up our laptops or our desktop are working very seamlessly without complication.
What does your production workflow look like? Which DAWs do you use? Any favorite plugins?
Yeah, I'm a Pro Tools and Ableton guy. I mean, I've used my DAW was Studio Vision Pro, and the reason why I went there, I went from workstation of Roland W30 to Studio Vision Pro because I read an article that Trent Reznor was using, and I
Mm.
loved. I was like, oh, okay, I'll use that too, and it was opcode. I remember, and that was my first DAW, and then PV bought opcode. Like, there was no support for it, and then I went to Logic when it was eMagic before Apple. Um, I was in Logic for a long time, so I discovered Pro Tools. And one thing I love about Pro Tools is that it's white canvas, so every DAW has a color and a sonic. Like there's something you can tell. Like I can personally tell when people make music on Ableton or Logic or
Yeah.
different because they all have a structure, algorithmic sonic structure.
Yeah. Different sonic character.
Yes, yeah, the characteristics. And
Mhm.
to me, Logic always it's really bass heavy and there's oomph to it. I wanted to be the one to color. I didn't want it. I didn't want you to hand me a canvas that's already blue, then I have to color it white in order to
Mm.
paint. You, so Pro Tools is just a white canvas. You color it. You make it. I like Ableton because I've been using Ableton since version 1. Since so Ableton come with Pro Tools at the time. It was owned by MIDI Man, a company called MIDI Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and even though it was a German company, uh, what came out of Germany, but I think they worked with MIDI Man, and it was whenever you got Pro Tools, you got the first version of Ableton Live. And I always thought it was a creative tool, and I like its grit. There's a grit to it that I enjoy, and I also like creating in it because it's quick and easy. But there's nothing I can't do in Pro Tools that I can do in Ableton or vice versa. So it's to me
Yeah.
they go. So I like those two dolls.
Mm. So you were telling me about some of the analog gear, what your workflow looks like, and how
Yeah.
what parts are out of the box, what parts are in the box. So
Yeah, so
continue.
I simplified my front end, so I still have my Neve mic pre, my summing is my Dangerous 2 Bucks Plus, my monitor ST, which is Dangerous Fusion SSL Fusion, which is like kind of like a coloration thing. It has compression and stereo imaging. I still have my Pro Tools IO and that's pretty much where it is. And a lot of keyboards, obviously, and synthesizers, but majority now it's a lot of it's in the box. Like all my
Yeah.
plugins, all my compression though, and everything reverbs and effects, everything's in the box. I have no external lexicons or any type of reverbs like that. Everything's in the box. Mic pre, side of the box, and that's about it. So there's a limited analog, and a lot of it's internal. It's a good hybrid.
Sure. One thing I found really interesting when I've collaborated with artists, seeing how other artists work, seeing what their workflow consists of, I can learn a lot from it. And I know you've had the opportunity to work with so many different artists over the course of your career. I was curious if there were any artists that stood out, based on the way that they produce, or anyone that you learned a lot from.
Everyone is different. I learned a lot from Todd, from programming, or Terry Kenny Dope and programming drums, to Harry on programming drums as well, and Sonics, Harry Romero. Who else? Armand. Armand was my first Van Helden. He was the person that, you know, taught me how to use a Roland W30 and keep it simple and simplicity. So there's been over the course, and then, you know, there's been other producers that I worked with, you know, different levels. Like I got opportunities to speak to, you know, people like Quincy. Actually,
Yeah.
he met a friend's wedding and sat and talked music and production and stuff with him, and that was mind blowing. And you know,
Wow.
I got great advice and tidbits from somebody like that, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, across the board, every, you know, Bob Power. You know, Bob Power. I remember, you know, sharing the same studio space with him, and he wouldn't talk to me for a while until one day he looked at me and was like, "Come here, kid." And I went into his room, and he taught me the first time I saw a pendulum compressor. And you know, he was kind enough to, you know, after he took a liking to me, to say, "Hey, bring a drive." He just gave me his entire drum collection, and you know, he produced, you know, Lone Theory and you know, oh, like, I mean, he's a legend when it comes to hip
Yeah.
hop. And to have his organization of drums and everything he has is like mind blowing. So, you know, yeah, there was a lot of, you know, everyone that I encountered, I've learned, and I continue to learn from to this day. You know, I would, you know, luckily I get to experience that with him now. Uh, Bob Rock,
Mm.
Jeff Jeff Lynne. I think Jeff Lynne is phenomenal. If you know, if anyone who understands or likes ELO, electric orchestra, that's Jeff Lynne.
Sure.
But then you have people in my world, in my Little Louis, Annie Dope Gonzalez, Master Work, Todd Terry, Mark Kitchen, MK, Todd Edwards. Oof, the list goes on and on. Armand.
Yeah.
That these are people that are not only my peers and my friends, but I'm still in awe of their production to this day. You know, you listen to these records, you're like, wow. Um, Mike Delgado, Kerry
Mm.
Chandler,
Mm.
you know, so many, yeah, so many, there's so many people. I could be on a fly on the wall, Rod Tepperton.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on. I mean, a lot of, even though Quincy is amazing composer, but a lot of the, you know, stuff that he did for Michael is, you know, because of Rod Tepperton. You know, he in the band Heatwave, but he produced alongside and wrote alongside Quincy. So, you know, a lot of people don't know Karen Carpenter. So Off the Wall originally was made for Karen Carpenter. She had a
Mm.
solo, and it was a disco album. And when she brought that song to the label, they were, no, 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 you can't do this. This is nuts. So that song went to Michael Jackson, Off the Wall. You know, so
Mm.
imagine hearing Karen Carpenter singing that song today. So
Wow.
imagine being a fly on the wall in that session. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's man, oof, if I could have been a fly on the wall in any '70s or '80s session, you know, not now Rogers session,
Yeah.
Chic, you know, Duran sessions.
Do you
Yeah,
have any specific memories of any sets of theirs, like anecdotal, that you can kind of walk any
oh
of
yeah,
us through? Because a lot. Unfortunately, I'm jealous because a lot of those artists were before my time. You know.
yeah, Derek
So,
Carter. I mean,
yeah.
to experience Derek Carter DJing is like, and Mark Farina, but Derek
Yeah.
Carter is like, he's musical. Like the way he would just throw on a piece of vinyl, and it'll be just a tracky track, and he'll play like an '80s record, or like Michael Jackson, and the way he would just ride these records, um, it was phenomenal. And he would just, you know, be in his zone, and he'll have four or five records going at once, and you're just like, wow. And that's the school that I learned from, and Sneak learned from, you know, because you know, they all DJ together, and I learned from that. That was a huge influence on me, you know.
Mm.
Watching Frankie Knuckles play. I remember
Yeah.
Frankie
Wow.
right on top of Rogers' house on 19th Street in New York. And every time I would just hang out at Rogers' house, you know, Frankie would come down, or I'd go upstairs and visit him, and he would be DJing. I would literally be in his house and watching Frankie Knuckles DJ, you know. And
Yeah.
I mean, and when I think about it now, I was so blessed, and
Right, right.
it was, it was just a normality back then. It was just like something
Exactly.